All right, welcome back, everyone. So we were just talking a while ago about issues around illegal mining and how that it's worsening the crisis, particularly in the northwestern part of the country. In this case, we're immediately looking at, say, Zamfara, for example. We're looking at places like Katsina State. We see how that has even extended now, by extension, to places like even Kebbi and Sokoto. Especially when you look at the so-called Lakurawa sects, which, from what we understand, is quite deadly. And the defense and military authorities are working tooth and nail to ensure that they surmount these criminal elements. But in all of this, it just shows that it's one challenge after the other for most Nigerians. However, insecurity tops the least because people have to be alive to even discuss issues around, economics and politics and the electoral process and things like that. So we have two big topics, by the way, on the program this morning with several talking points in between both of them. First, we'll be looking at the, let's just say the MOU, for want of better words, that the Kaduna State government, under the leadership of Governor Uba Sani, has now entered into with, let's just call them again, ex-bandits now, because that in itself has become a very topical discussion on account of the fact that insecurity has plagued this country for a long time. But we can't forget in a hurry how the emergence of Boko Haram has led to some sort of burgeoning situation where we have come to find ourselves in this country. Of course, it's not the first time governors will talk about whether or not to sign, or if you like, make some sort of amnesty program available for people who come forward to say, look, yes, I have been a bandit, I've been part of a criminal gang, but I feel at this point, I'm convinced, as a matter of fact, that it's not the way to go. So I want to drop my arms and just surrender and then turn a new leaf and things like that. Of course, the immediate instance that people often cite is the Niger Delta Amnesty Program under late President Musa Yar'Adua. But there are also experts who say you can't use that as a model because the circumstances are, just like night and day.
Some who said it's just government deploying diplomacy and instead of using force war as a means to resolve all of this issue. But we can't continue to do the same thing and then we expect that we'll now also increase people, participation. Because when you look at the fact that those that have been granted amnesty and those that have also felt, oh, look, they have lost life, they have wasted life, they killed many, they distorted peace in the communities and all of those concerned. Kaduna State governor said, look, we cannot continue to fight. We just have to negotiate with them. Zamfara State governor said, grant us state police. We are not with the police. We do not have the powers to fight them.
The police is federal.
The police is federal. So Zamfara State governor have been calling for granting state policing so that they can be able to, resolve the issues within there. He said he knows them. So the different approach from Zamfara State and Kaduna State. So, but in all of this, it shows how dangerous these things are. It also gets to question the political, concern about political will. Are we ready to confront these persons? Because it's not just that we can't tell ourselves the truth, that we cannot know those persons or the faces behind them. We've also seen cases where these people have come out to also, the Chief of Defense Staff was saying that they are well armed. The kind of ammunition that they have, even sometimes the military or the police do not even have access to those things.
Right.
And that question, how do they have access to these ammunitions and arms? Who sponsored them? Some of them are with hard currencies. These are what the Chief of Defense Staff has come out to say clearly, that this is how dangerous, how powerful, these guys are. So we must begin to look at the fact that there is more job to be done. As security agencies will understand that why they are having access to rule as a security agencies because of the fact that they are privileged by virtue of access to information, access to grant, access to government funds and allocations and all of that, to be able to resolve these issues about insecurity. Because the more we are continuing to, we are taking for granted all of this conversation, it's increasing day by day. Look at the statistics that MBS has released about how much has been spent on ransom, the kidnapping over 2024. It looks very worrisome. Over more than 2.2 billion people had paid for just to, get their loved ones and the family ones. So it's a now becoming a normal, in the society. People just feel kidnapping is the way to go, banditry is a way to go, illegal mining is just a way to go and take it for granted. So government must also have approach a strong political way to confront this issue, because in as much as they are making negotiation, yes, fantastic approach, but it's not sustainable. They will always come back again and again and again. Let's get to just show actions, and then I think these issues can be well put to rest.
All right. Well, quite an interesting issue. For most parts, the conversation around state policing has neither been here nor there. If you remember, Mike, just a few months ago, of course, at the twilight of 2024, the National Executive Council, NEC, of course, made up of the governors and chaired by the vice presidents, had agreed that every state, each of the 36 states, including the FCT, should submit their proposal as to what their thoughts are and their own position on the idea of state police and things like that. Some states did that almost immediately. Others are still foot dragging. Someone like the FCT minister Nyesom Wike now says that, look, I mean, can we not just move on to something else? Because for him, he says, state police is not going to work because governors, by his own assessment, will exploit it. Of course, that position is not new. People have said governors will exploit it. I mean, look at what governors are already doing with the Nigeria Police Force, which is the federal police, let alone when you now have a police that is tied, so to say, to the apron strings of the state government, of course, under the leadership of a governor. But the question is, are we not seeing it also done in the US, where you have the NYPD, the New York Police Department, the LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, for example? So some persons have raised the question of, if you can, well, quote unquote, borrow democracy from the US, the presidential system of government, why don't you also, exactly, if you like, domesticate their system of policing, where you even have the sheriff, the local police, for example? Recall that even under immediate past presidents, Muhammadu Buhari, of course, you had former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami saying the Amotekun situation was also a bit of a controversy, because at that point the former AGF had said that, look, we can't have Amotekun because it's more like a prelude to state police, which at the time had not become a constitutional issue. Of course, no governor has the latitude under the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended to just come up with some sort of entity called state police. So it has to pass through, well, some sort of amendments at the constitutional level. But the question is, hypothetically, Mike, if we had a state police system or a state policing system today, does it look like it can solve the problem? Because there are two angles to this issue. The first is, what will the state police be able to do that the Nigeria Police Force can't already do? That's number one. Number two is, people are also looking at election cycles. What will the governor's attitude be towards state policing, knowing that they have the state police apparatus at their disposal?
I mean, the conversation has already started, and many have actually, I mean, there's a divide in the room. The concern about state policing, we'll look at the fact that what is happening, what is security? Security is just about what information you've been able to gather, also from the grassroots. Yes, they said security is local, so everybody must also have aware of contributing, even the community leaders as well. You go back to what is happening within the state. It's not access to the policing that is a problem. When people give information, how useful as the police force, use these informations. Sometimes we look at issues of intelligence, gathering and all of those concerns. You see EFCC raiding some houses, without carrying out good and effective, intelligence gathering before approaching, and then they lost a life.
In some cases, there's even no search warrants,
no search warrants, and all of those concerns. So we just make an approaches without making proper findings. So if we now have state policing, yes, it might also be draw closer security to the people. Where we look at the fact that yes, we don't have to always run to IG to give an order just to be able to make some decisions within the state. But how about the concerns of the fact that all of those things are what we are used to already. The community has also been involved. Sometimes they call the police, and the police also deploy their men. At the end of the day, nothing arms and munitions. Would the governors be able to have budget? I mean, wouldn't that be another area of having an increased budget for state, I mean, to be able to gather for state policing? So it just, we're going back and forth. It's just about the fact that the security that we already have, I mean, look at the statistics of what they have been able to do. Can we really justify the fact that, I mean, they have done the best? So it just for me, just to retrain what we have, you know, give them the necessary ammunitions and arms, you know, empower them more, look at the issue of welfareism, let the police already we have to be able to approach issues of security as what they have to do, not because of, I mean, like a cool attitude some of them have been deploying. Look at the issue of welfare. You cannot, I mean, you cannot look at a policeman who has been on the road for more than 5 hours, 10 hours under the sun, you know, to go after a situation. Very sadly, you know, just very close to our premises here, you know, one of a colleague, you know, before becoming a victim of the circumstances, the police were just 20 meters away from the incident. And they reported the issue instantly. And the police said, look, we are concentrating on where we are. We cannot really come after the matter. That's what is really happening.
We can't split ourselves.
We can't split ourselves. So, in a situation where even at 20 meters, I mean, kilometers away from where the incident actually happened, they cannot, you know, take an action. You know, these are the things that have been repeating, you know, over time. So, it shows the fact that these guys just need, I mean, proper training, you know, deploy proper training, the equipment, look at the welfareism. I think they may be able to do a job. We shouldn't increase the number of trying to deploy more policing, you know, to look at the state convention. And also, we've also seen state governors doing task force, I mean, within the state, you know, to see how they can actually police their communities around.
The vigilante system.
We've also seen what the vigilante system have been used for. It's another form of thuggery, you know, in some state, where it's a gang system where they use it as a victimization. They come after you when you have actually, you know, I mean, probably
the cross path with the
governor, or cross path with the political parties and the ruling political parties in the state. So it's just for us to get it right with what we have. I think once we be able to get it right from what we have, we can now look at, oh fine, we've gotten it right here. Can we begin a conversation about internalizing these things at the grassroots? From now, it's just about professionalism, because increasing the numbers at the state will also be another job. And I mean, we know the side that might actually happen at the end of the day. So, but it's a valid conversation anyways.
Right. Well, at this point, everyone, we're taking a quick break now. So we can bring you paper headlines from across our national dailies today. Do stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Now we head straight to the top stories on the national dailies, beginning from the Punch newspaper this morning. The big story on the Punch, front paper of the Punch, tariff hike. Subscribers head for court as NCC talks deadlocked. Right to the story says NCC subscribers insist on reversal of demand 10% tariff increase. That's the big story rather on the Punch, concerned about the tariff hike. Government told the NCC had agreed for 50% increase. Subscribers kicking against it. Some said we can't have that quality of service and don't expect a 50% increase, and that's the reaction demanding for 10% tariff hike. But in a way, they've also looked at the fact that a concern over times that the telecom sector has been confronted with. They have also made explanations regarding to the sustainability of the sector as well, and also to encourage them. But government, Nigerians are saying and insisting for 10% increase away from the 50% increase of the tariff hike. It's still a conversation, ongoing conversation, and NCC has not spoken yet in reaction to what many Nigerians have reacted upon the announcement of the 50% increase of the tariff. We also have 3,690 Nigerians listed as United States U.S. mass deportation continues. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Over the United States, deportation, it's a very serious issue right there. Donald Trump, who spoke on issues of migration, and also insisted that he will be taking this on for as long as he had hit the ground running. But hitting the ground running, he has hit the ground running with deportations. We've also seen the fact that he is very serious with this action.
Mm-hmm. You see, that conversation ensued momentarily this morning. Myself and a few neighbors were driving to work, and so the issue of Trump and Nigerians came up, and you're wondering what is the business between Trump and Nigerians? Well, there is some business now, because this deportation was going to affect everybody in the U.S. whom the system considers illegal immigrants. As it stands today, we understand you have over 3,600 Nigerians who have reportedly been listed for deportation. The rules have always been clear with Trump. You can always come to the U.S., no doubt about that. Whether you want to study, you want to work, whatever it is you want to do here legitimately. However, you must come through the front door. All right? Look at what he did with his campaign rhetorics in 2016. He was unequivocal about what he was going to do with immigration policy and the actions that will follow. He started with Mexico, and then he went global with it. And between 2017, January 20, when he was sworn into 2021, January 20, we saw what he also did. And people said by last year that was just only going to be a prelude to what he's going to do in this second term, which started just a matter of days ago. Now, what's the point here? It's simple. Once Trump got into office, first day on the job, well, it's not the first day on because he had done 4 years, but for the second term. Yes, he said, look, we are going to raid churches, we are going to raid mosques, we are going to raid houses, homes and NGOs and what have you, shelters. These are called sanctuaries. So we'll raid all of them, and we will use all the apparatus of government to make that happen. And that took effect almost immediately. And we've seen what, of course, the Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, has been doing in that regard the whole time. The point Trump is making, right or wrong, is it has to be America first. You can't come here to enjoy the privileges and take advantage of the system without paying your own price, without paying your dues. And one way to start paying your dues is to ensure you come in the right way. Don't come in through the back door. Don't smuggle people through Mexico border, the southern border, as they call it. Of course, he has also reached out to other parts of the world and said, look, if you can't do it right, then you shouldn't do it at all. So the question is it a matter of saying, well, let him allow Nigerians in and other nationalities in? That's not even the conversation. The conversation is, how do you come in? That's the point Trump is making. And as for those Nigerians whom we understand have been listed for deportation, the question is, what is actually their status as of today in the U.S.? Of course, we know that under, democratic governments, like you had with Obama, like you had with Clinton, like you had with the immediate past presidents, talking about Joe Biden. There's always this liberal approach, all right, to issues around immigration. They're always friendly with immigrants and all of that. But for Republicans, particularly the brand that Trump presents, well, it's a different kettle of fish.
A lot of executive orders, away from the issues of immigration. After swearing in, and lots concerned. We also see the threats to pull out from some organizations,
including the World Health Organization,
even the United Nations, some aids in respect to all of those things. So, and even the tariff hike, to whatever you are.
Yeah, exactly. Beginning with China.
China and all of that. So it's becoming a very interesting scenario in the US, but we're still following to see how all these events get to unfold itself right there. But just so we have in the news for a context, 3,690 Nigerians have been listed. Let's see how that plays out at the end of the day. On page 14 of the Punch, you were broke. Wike bankrolled your election. Daniel tells Bauchi governor that political statement from the former speaker of the House of Representatives against the Bauchi State's governor in respect to their concerns and issues right there. Also, on the front page of the Punch, we also have some gratitude towards the establishment and signing into law of the Act establishing the Nigerian Maritime University in Delta State from Tom Paul. These are the right to the front page, the news on the front page of the Punch. You can ask the vendor to get more details on that. We'll now move to the Guardian newspaper this morning for you.
So we'll take a look at, let's see what we have next, the Guardian newspaper here. The same advertorial that you have on the front page of the Punch newspaper is replicated on almost every other major paper today, including the Guardian and the Daily Trust. But let's look at the public interest headlines. We'll begin with the Star headline, by the way. It has a kicker that says, expiration of exit notice, worry over regional security, trade in ECOWAS without Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. Now, these Sahel countries are resolved about leaving the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. It appears there's no going back right now. FG deploys single window system to recover $3 billion, meet $1 trillion target. 2027, that's your kicker there. APC, Sani, Boala, Tako, Atiku, El-Rufai as Obi clarifies on coalition. You find those details on news page 6. African leaders, partners commit $50 billion to improved power supply. Others, the question is, to what end does it rub off on the people? We hear a whole lot of amount. I mean, this is something in the neighborhood of, if you like, that should be about 80 trillion, which is almost twice our budget for 2025. But the question is, when it's all said and done, after all of these African leaders and their partners commit these humongous amounts to improved power supply, what happens to power on the continent, right? Read up those details anyway on page 3 of today's issue of the Guardian newspaper. Those are your headlines today. It's a bit scanty for the Guardian, no infographics for you. All right, but let's turn to other papers quickly. This time we'll look at the Daily Trust, and Michael has those headlines.
The front page of the Daily Trust, confab, how to make 2027 polls credible, acceptable. Writer says rigging plans already unfolding. That's coming from Tambuwal. PDP conducted worst elections. Reaction from the APC. The convention about the 2027 politics. It's ongoing. A concern about how we can get it right in respect to democracy and strengthening our elections better from the previous. So APC have slammed back at Atiku and others who had reacted to what the elections conducted under the All Progressive Congress and saying that PDP conducted worse elections. I mean, sometimes we've seen Atiku, also coming out to look, said election is bad, the democracy is not working, and all of those critics. And APC are likely pointing fingers. When you were the vice president, under your watch, the watch of your boss, you know, the PDP took over almost all the state in Southwest. Aware of political state capturing as what have been deployed. So you do not have the morals to criticize what is happening there. But that is not the issue. So we cannot continue to glorify what was wrong, as at the time towards 2025. Some Nigerians have said, look, we cannot make those comparisons, and also look at the fact that Nigerians are now knowing better, they are more enlightened. For 25 years of democracy, we cannot have that conversation about going back to 1999 to 2007 and all of those concepts. So let's get it right. So stop the blame game. And that has been what APC has slammed back towards PDP recently.
Mike, this issue is a bit, they say politics is murky waters, right? Think about that for a second. We returned to democracy in 1999, so it's been 25 years and counting, right? 26th year now, actually. And then you're wondering, when APC and the PDP bicker, who exactly is pointing fingers? That's one. Number two is, at whom are those fingers being pointed? Because we know that the APC is an evolution in itself. Of course, an amalgamation of many political parties that happened just about a decade ago, right? But in all, one thing is clear, amongst others. The bulk of the people in APC today had been in the PDP at the point, and some in the PDP today had also been in the APC. So what you're saying is what they call cross-carpeting.
Some people.
Yes, some people, all right? Different blocks, different interest fronts and all of that. So it's a matter of when my interest is not protected or served, I come out shouting and shooting all over the roof. But when as I say, stomach infrastructure is guaranteed, we all act and be nice. And you know what they say here, you need to have table manners. When you're eating, you don't talk.
We must get it right. We cannot compare what had happened, because what we're having right there is the fact that people are saying, look, under the time you were, which is about 1999,
we even had what's electoral processes. What did you do about it?
Should we be judging our progress, by looking at the past antecedents?
And progress in error.
Progress in error. So it's a convention, and I think the ball is still at the courtroom of INEC, to always decide how best we could go. So a lot of expectations are right there. Many have said, let's get 2027 working. And Tambuwal has alleged that rigging plans already are unfolding. Probably he has some evidences to back up that issues raised there. But these are the issues we have from the Daily Trust. We now get to This Day newspaper.
All right, for This Day newspaper, everyone, we begin with the headline above the name masts for you this morning. It says, Tinubu, 11 African leaders sign Dar es Salaam Declaration for Electricity Access to 300 million Africans by 2030. That's is pretty much a 5-year plan. But then there's a rider accompanying that headline. It reads, acknowledges AFDB's $1.1 billion support for provision of electricity to 5 million Nigerians by 2026. What's more, Kaidoso, that's your kicker there, era of opaque FX market practices, sundry abuses over. That's on page 5 of today's issue of This Day newspaper. A U.S. NTSB begins probe into Lagos Washington United Airlines emergency landing. That was an incident that occurred yesterday, a few days ago, and thankfully no incidents, or where there was an incident, but no life was lost. Right, Atiku's political desperation responsible for PDP's tragic disintegration, says APC. 2 riders for you. The first one tells us, dismisses allegations, ruling party paying opposition parties 50 million naira. Insists to be lacks capacity to govern Nigeria. Hopefully everybody gets a chance to prove themselves in 2027. Right, but then we have the Star headline this morning on the front page of This Day newspaper. The kicker says, El-Rufai, we have poor leadership today because Kani people illiterates our leaders. Bunch of writers with this particular headline says he has no plans to leave APC. Really? That sounds curious. laments he no longer recognizes his party, which has failed to meet in 2 years. You don't even know if it is one-man show or zero-man show. Alleges internal mercenaries in PDP hired and motivated to destroy party. Boala reacts, doubts El-Rufai would say same thing if in government. Let's think about that for a second. I mean, I'm reading these riders now with this headline, Mike. I'm thinking about the El-Rufai that stood with President Bola Tinubu, then candidate of the APC, going into the 2023 general election at the Chatham House in London. All right, how that's, well, they had gone to present the blueprint for the renewed hope agenda at that time. This was just a few weeks into the election, and people had said, look, this man, then the outgoing governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, was going to play a very pivotal role in the government of President Bola Tinubu. Some had speculated saying he would get a ministerial position, so there would be some ministerial portfolio for him. Others said, well, maybe he would even be the defense minister and all of that. Others said, hold on a second, how do you make him a defense minister when there's a potpourri of security concerns in the state? He can't deal with just a quarter of them and things like that. But the point being made at that time was that
it was close.
Speculations was rife. I mean, we arrived at this man, not only that he was close to the president, at least politically, but that he had come a long way with the APC, and as such, he was going to have a place of prominence within the Tinubu government. But of course, today we know better. Some people are saying that, he's no longer a de facto member of the APC. He's just a member, let's say nominally, and all of that. We have seen he's hobnobbing with opposition figures recently, and the man has never been dodgy about it. This has been the public glare and things like that. And on the further those who follow politics in this country now say that all of these are the antics and the gimmicks and all of the drama that will lead into 2027 general election.
I mean, many are still monitoring El-Rufai, even when he has come out countless times to say, I'm still a member of APC, so I have not defected. But body language, statements he's making and all of those things, I like the fact that he has distanced himself from the government of the day. But the big question, because we look at the fact the role he played, he was one of those who started the campaign for Southern presidency,
right,
at the 2022 primaries of the APC. So he started that. He was one of those who really had campaigned for power to shift to the south, and that was how he supported President Bola Tinubu. But aftermath, we saw the fact that his name was sent to the Senate, and the Senate said they have petition against him, and security concerns and all of those things. No one came out afterwards to clear. These are the issues, and we didn't even see how it was embraced, from the Aso Rock to look at the fact that, if that issue is not working, if this one is not working, come, let's deal with this alternative. Let's find an alternative, So it don't get to the point where many have seen event unfold. Nasarawa State Governor was asked, recently in an interview, you're a close friend to El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna, said, what is happening? He said, he's my friend, my brother, we're talking and all of those things. It looks like it's just being reserved. So no one came out clearly to say it is the position of El-Rufai. But with all indications now, it shows that the man has distanced himself from whatever is happening and probably is now finding a way out politically. But it gets to the point where we just have to question ourselves to look at the fact that yes, political parties might not always be right, and for him to say the issues we are having is because of poor leadership. When you were the governor of Kaduna State, what was the leadership style?
Right.
Looking at when he was even the FCT minister, what would people say about El-Rufai? We had the Federal Capital Territory, so people always have a way of criticizing. No matter what you do. But the big question is, if you are having a side with other opposition, you cannot stay in the same party to be criticizing government of the day. Let's know that you are a member of APC.
Right.
Let's know that you are a member of PDP. So come out clear. So Nigerians can know where to, probably, put you at the end of the day. But it's still an ongoing conversation. El-Rufai is a strong factor. We cannot rule out the fact in the north. Many are monitoring. Many are even lobbying for him to be on their side. So we saw the other meeting at the SDP, Social Democratic Party. Some person said it looks it's planning some defection. But however, he has come out to say, I'm still a member of APC. But we are still watching towards 2027 to know how that gets to. and 47.
Well, it turns out those are all the papers we have this morning for you. We do hope you take out time to read details for yourself as you make progress into this very amazing and blessed day. We also want to add a caveat at this point that all we do with our paper headlines here is to present them to you as they are published by their respective publishers. Global Television does not have editorial contribution on these content that we present to you from Nigeria's national dailies. All right, we'll take a quick break. We come back, talk a little more, and then up next will be the global news. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
And as 2027 draws closer, our conversation towards electoral reforms are ongoing. Recent has been a two-day national conference that had the presence of all the political parties and leaders as well, having a conversation surrounding the 2027 elections, electoral reforms. And the former immediate past Vice President of the Republic of Ghana was also in attendance, which he spoke concerning how we can continue to deepen democracy in Africa, looking at the fact that the recent reactions from some Western African countries are pulling out of democracy and also bringing in military regimes. It has been worrisome, and there's a need to continue to sustain democracy in Nigeria and other African countries. Many have reacted concerning pushing towards issues of electoral reforms, in which on the program this morning we'll be making that discussion. But let's get to the former Vice President. He said, even when I saw that I was already losing an election, so I saw that I've exceeded the expected percentage that I ought to have before I could declare winner. I didn't wait for the 24 hours later that the electoral umpire will get to announce John Mahama as the president. I needed to concede defeat to reduce the tension, the political tension that was already on ground, so that it will be escalated away from that. It showed statesmanship. Those that said in Nigeria, the last time we had that was maybe Goodluck Jonathan, where it was a sitting president. 2015. A sitting president who had to accept defeat and congratulate the winner, Muhammadu Buhari. It shows statesmanship and the call for statesmanship. Look at what is happening today. Someone will lose local government election, he will run to court. In the House of Assembly, they are going to court. State election, they are going to court. It now gets to question, what is the problem? Right. Some persons said they have carried out a survey. It looks at some persons, some political parties do not believe in the integrity of the election. They felt something that went wrong. So how do we begin to get it right on elections? Some have suggested, giving some supervisory role to some independent body to supervise what INEC are doing. Because INEC seems to be isolating themselves from Nigeria and doing their thing independently. At the end of the day, they present results and all of those concerns. A lot of confusion are ongoing towards electoral reforms. I don't know what they really think of that.
It's interesting, Mike. The first thing here is for me, can we not be patriotic enough? I'll start with the basics. If you say you want to become, let's say, a local government chairman, like you mentioned, at least let's begin from the grassroots. Or you now aspire to say you want to be a member of the legislature, whether the states or the federal level. Better still, you've got an ambition to become a governor. One would have thought that you're doing it from a place of the desire to serve the people, right, to contribute your quota, as I say. But then what we're seeing the whole time, ironically and sadly so, has been desperation. The win by all means at all costs tendency. That's what we've been seeing the entire time, where if I'm not the one who won the election, it was not free and fair. So it is only free, fair, and credible to the extent that I'm the winner. So until I'm declared the winner, we scatter everything. That's what we're seeing here. And you see us going back and forth with tribunal, escalating to the Court of Appeal, Supreme Court in some cases. Depending on what the Constitution and the electoral law allow and things like that. There's a lot to learn from the Ghana electoral process, particularly this last one that produced the presidency of John Mahama. The fact of the matter is we are still suffering a lot of deficits in terms of patriotism. The average politician as of today is not patriotic. He just wants power for the fun of it. How do I know? Many indicators. One of them being that you always hear them say, we want to capture power for those who are not in power. Others who have been in power before, they lost it at some point, will say, we want to recapture power. What does that lead to? Desperation, rigging, and of course, breaking on the defection as well. Exactly, even on the eve of an election. Because it's not about the people, it's about you, it's about your cronies, it's about your political party. It's one system where we see people putting their political party before the country, forgetting that you only have your political party because there's a country. All right, and that's why you see some of them, they don't care throwing the country into chaos as long as their party wins. And it's quite a sad place that we are in right now.
It's a very sad commentary, but we continue to advance that conversation just as the national conference have been held recently in Abuja here, where those interactions have already started on. But we continue to track and knowing fully what may be the expectation, the role of INEC, the role of judiciary, the role of citizens, even the political parties as well, to get it right towards our electoral process. At the top of the hour, we'll bring you the AM news here on the Global Morning, and of course, subsequently follows the interactions conversation about the insecurity challenges and the electoral reforms here on the program today. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Hello and many thanks for joining us here on Air News on Global Television from the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Medican Michael. Remember that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276 and free to air on Iconsat. President Bola Tinubu has met with other African leaders at the Mission 300 Africa Energy Summit in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. President Tinubu, who arrived Dar es Salaam in Tanzania to attend the summit, which started on January 27, was spotted alongside Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan and others at the summit. He was received by the Foreign Minister of the Tanzanian Ambassador Mahmoud Taibu Kabul and the Charge of the Affairs of Nigeria High Commission to Tanzania, Ambassador Salisu Suleiman. Our troops of the 1 Brigade of the Joint Task Force Operation Fasten Yama, in collaboration with operatives of the Department of State Services, have intercepted a large cargo of arms in Zamfara State. The operation was carried out in Cairo, local government area, following intelligence of the activities of suspected arms dealers linked to the Niger Republic. A statement issued by the Coordinator Joint Media Center Operations Fasten Yama, Lieutenant Colonel Abubakar Abdullahi revealed that the operation conducted on January 27, 2025 was based on actionable intelligence. Meanwhile, the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Katsina State Council has warned the Ogun State government threatening to withdraw its members from the frontline local government areas due to unresolved security and welfare issues. The association also threatened to embark on an indefinite strike to begin on January 30, 2025, should the government refuse to address its demands by the end of the 2-day warning strike. Also, the Katsina State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested a former permanent secretary of the Department of Banking and Finance and current permanent secretary of the State Local Government Service Commission, Alhaji Mohib Ibrahim, and 5 others. This is contained in a statement signed by the Commission Secretary Jamil Abdulsalam. He said the arrest of the 6th suspect was connected to the alleged misappropriation of over 136 million naira from the department's account. On to political matters, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has criticized the ruling All Progressive Congress, accusing the party of straying from its founding ideals and fostering poor leadership. While addressing a national conference in Abuja on strengthening democracy in Nigeria, El-Rufai labeled the state of governance and opposition in the country as a national emergency. He shared a report on his X handle expressing concerns over the absence of internal democracy and active party structures within the All Progressive Congress. Oyo State government has warned corporate bodies, events planners, and anyone planning a lavish celebration in respect of St. Valentine's Day to ensure they adhere to the state rules and regulations. This is coming after the December 2024 Children Fun Fair stampede, where a total of 35 students were confirmed killed at the Islamic High School, Bashiru, in Ibadan, Oyo State capital. Commissioner for Information in the state, Prince Dotun Oyalade, made the announcement, noting that many broadcast stations have started airing adverts and promotions inviting people to celebrate St. Valentine's Day at various venues. And the Parent Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa said that the proposed 126 billion naira budget by the Independent National Electoral Commission for the 2025 fiscal year is essential for credible elections in Nigeria. The center, in a statement by the Executive Director Ezenwa Nwagu, commended INEC for its transparency in presenting its financial needs and detailed breakdown of the planned expenditures to the National Assembly. The position comes amidst the ongoing debate in the National Assembly over INEC's budget proposal, with the Commission emphasizing the need for robust funding to meet the rising cost of election administration in Nigeria. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has shut down the infamous cemetery market in Aba, Abia State for the second time in 2 years. The agency says it uncovered and confiscated fake and substandard food and beverages worth over 5 billion naira in its latest operation tagged Operation Cleaning Up Aba, described as a hub for Africa's largest counterfeit wine and beverage cartel. The cemetery market has been notorious for producing fake alcoholic drinks, carbonated beverages, and food products. On education matters, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has announced that for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Olayede said the sale of forms will begin on January 31st, 2025 and close on March 5th, 2025, adding that the sales of application documents and e-print vending will begin on March 10, 2025 for the direct entry candidate. While the mock UTM is scheduled for April 5th, 2025, the main exams will be held from April 25th, 2025 to May 5th, 2025. And all the candidates of the People's Democratic Party in the last Edo State governorship election, Dr. Azui Gadolo has filed a 500 million naira defamation lawsuit against the acting chairman of the All Progressive Congress (APC) in Edo State, Jared Tenabe. The case was filed at the Lagos State High Court. Staffarabad was Kwei Gadolo is seeking damages, a retraction of the alleged defamatory statement, and a public apology from Tenabe. The lawsuit follows an alleged defamatory statement made by Tenabe in a viral video on December 10, 2024, accusing Igadolo of corruption and misappropriation of state funds. And the Federal Safety Corps has warned Nigerians to stop scooping fuel from the crashed trucks loaded with petrol products. The FRC Corps Marshal Shehu Mohammed gave this warning while addressing newsmen in Abuja on its recently concluded Operation Zero Tolerance. Mohammed explained that Ford tankers were the reason for the rise in fatalities in 2024, noting that the situation was worrisome, especially in cases of fatalities as a result of scooping of petroleum products from crashed tankers in Niger and Jigawa State. The governor of Niger State, Mohamed Bago, announced support for the kickoff of the Niger State Command of the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. He also called on state governors to support the agency's drive to tackle human trafficking and violence against persons. The governor stated these are the Niger State Liaison Office, Abuja, when he received the management of the agency led by the Director General Binta Bello. Meanwhile, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Haneke, has disclosed that the deadly explosion in Sabanpegi, located in the Mashigu Legal Government area of Niger State, which resulted in the tragic death of 3 individuals and the destruction of 40 houses, was caused by the illegal stockpiling of explosives by resident Joshua Makampala. According to a statement issued by the Minister's Special Assistant Media Shegun Tomori, the Makampala's unauthorized accumulation of these dangerous materials was the direct trigger for the incident. The statement pointed out that the resident is believed to have been involved in purchasing and storing explosives and their accessories in-house in the area following a preliminary investigation. You're watching the live broadcast of AM News, coming to you live from the nation's capital. When AM News returns, January 6, defendant killed by police days after Donald Trump pardon. We shall bring you the details as well as that of business, sports, and foreign stories right after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. For Sister with us over News and Anti Business Day. That management office has said the president still inherited a total of 87.38 trillion naira. That's upon assumption of office. The debt management made the revelation in a statement in a bid to clarify recent media report claiming that the President Tinubu inherited 21 trillion naira in the public debt, which rose to 142 trillion naira. The agency said the actual total public debt as of June 30, 2023, after President Tinubu took office, stood at 87.38 trillion naira, noting that the figure includes the external and domestic debt of the federal government of Nigeria, the 36 states and the federal capital territory. And our Kwara state government commenced the payment of over 500 million naira compensation to over 1,000 customary landowners, land purchasers and the farmers for the extension of the ongoing industrial park located at Eyankori along the old Ilorin Obamashe Road. The state government acquired a total of 2,750 hectares of land for the establishment of Kwara State Industrial Park on Ilorin Obamashe Road in the state. Speaking at the event, the Executive Chairman, Kwara State Geographic Information Service, Abdul Karim Suleiman, said that the payment of the compensation should not be interpreted as if the government was buying the acquired hectares of the land. Meanwhile, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has called for continuous engagement by stakeholders in the telecommunications sector to create a win-win situation following the approved tariff hike. And Director General Chinere Alomana made the call in an interview with newsmen in Lagos while reacting to recent approval of a 50% tariff hike on the mobile telecommunication by Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC). Alomana said the emerging innovative landscape in the food production, surveillance technology for security and exploit of artificial intelligence depended on a robust digital ecosystem. Noting that while the telecommunications had become a critical part of lifestyle and businesses, the sector must remain competitive to deliver quality services. The Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the 2025 license renewal fee for all Bureau de Change operators. The Director of the Financial Policy and Regulation Department, General Onoja, recently announced the development in a statement, saying a waiver took immediate effect. Recall that to improve the compliance and oversight, the Apex Bank in May 2024 approved the new guidelines for the BDC's operations in Nigeria. Boeing has reported a hefty fourth quarter loss following a bruise in 2024 that included a lengthy labor strike and major safety issues on the commercial planes and the defense contract cost overruns. The U.S. aviation giants reported a fourth quarter loss of $3.9 billion, putting the full year at $11.8 billion. Revenues in the fourth quarter were $15.2 billion, down 31% from the year ago period. On the phone scene, an Indiana man who was pardoned by the U.S. President Donald Trump over the U.S. Capitol riot was killed by police during a traffic stop days after. Now, the statement says Matthew Hotel, 42, was shot and killed when police pulled his vehicle over and he allegedly resisted and ended up in altercations with an officer. And Indiana State Police ISP. It remains unclear what was being arrested for. Police added that Hotel had a firearm in his possession during the traffic stop. Colombia Air Force plans sent to U.S. to fetch deported migrants have landed in the capital of Bogota. The migrants had been on the U.S. military flight headed for Colombia when Colombian President Gustavo Petro barred the U.S. military aircraft from landing, arguing that those on board were being treated like criminals. The incident took the two countries to the brink of a trade war after Donald Trump threatened to impose 25% tariff on the Colombian goods, and Petro said he will retaliate in kind. Around the rear section of the passenger aircraft caught fire at an airport in South Korea, forcing the evacuation of 136 people on board, authorities said. The Airbus plane and Airbus A321 was set to fly to Hong Kong from the Gimhae International Airport in southeastern Busan, both cut far at around 10:15 p.m. local time, the Transport Ministry said in a statement. A total of 169 passengers and 7 flight attendants and staff were evacuated down the inflatable slides. German helicopters have begun deliveries of aid to Gaza, the first since the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was declared. The scene from the reveals itself out of the midday has grey ruins and a lifeless landscape. Reports said next to the barbed wire fence, 2 trucks are waiting to bring the aid into nearby Khan Yunis, and the head is quickly unloaded. Now the world of sport, after making use of Lafayette Township Stadium as the adopted home ground for nearly 2 seasons, Lobby Stars of Maccabee will now play their remaining home matches in the ongoing Nigeria Premier Football League NPFL season at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa Stadium. It will be recalled that Lobby Stars, under the immediate past Vice Chairman Dominic Lofa, adopted a new Jos Township Stadium as a home ground from where they moved to Lafayette at the start of the 2023-24 season. Lobby Stars homegrown Apel Aku Stadium is undergoing renovation after the Monumentally Sport Facilities construction company was contracted by government in July 2024 to upgrade the facilities at the stadium. And our hall is now set for Nigeria to welcome the African Continent for the Women's Volleyball Club Championship, with over 20 countries expected to compete for honors from April 1st to 14 in Abuja. This was announced by the Comptroller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale, during a courtesy visit to the Chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, in Abuja. While seeking the Commission's support, Adewale expressed excitement about the event. Adewale also highlighted the Customs Service commitment to sports development, emphasizing the importance of fostering growth at all levels. As a package on AM News coming to you live from the nation's capital, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, the Star Times channel 276, free to air on MyCamSat. You can follow us on our social media platform at Global TV NG. We'll continue with the rest of the morning show live on Global Television. Do stay with us after the break.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
In a bid to address challenges associated with insecurity in Nigeria, several suggestions have been made. We see recommendations flying from left, right, and center, all aimed at ensuring that Nigeria becomes a safer place, whether in the north or in the south. As of today, for example, we have heard things around state policing. Should states be allowed to have their own police? How will the respective governors of these states treat these policing units? That's one conversation. There's also another one about community sort of policing, which comes to the very grassroots, more like the way you have sheriff, or in some countries marshals. Others have said, well, how about we even start from something a bit more fundamental, those who are even the ones driving insecurity across the country, particularly as it stands today in the northern part of Nigeria. They say, okay, let's start with banditry. How about we, well, let's say, experiment with some sort of amnesty, all right, with these persons in such a way that we're able to bring them to dialogue, discuss what the issues are, what are the factors driving agitation on their part, and then see how state governments across this region can also, as it were, give them some kind of soft landing in such a way that the tension is doused and then the agitation itself and its causes are addressed. Kaduna State Governor has done something that's a bit, well, some people say dramatic, but it's sort of revolutionary, regardless of where you stand in the divide. This morning, to help us find sense in these developments, we're joined by Ahmed Gesso, who is a security and intelligence analyst. He joins us live via Zoom from Kano State, northwestern Nigeria. Thank you, Gesso, for making our time to join us today. First of all, I'll go straight to the conversation by asking you, what are your thoughts about the idea of state governments going into some form of negotiations that have the potential to lead to some sort of, if you like, amnesty with bandits?
Well, I think before going into that, I need to follow up on what I have been talking about over the years, that all the governors and all the security agencies knows who are the bandits, they know where they are, they have their names, they have their profile by polling unit, political wards, states and local governments. And the communities also know who are the bandits, and they know who they are, and they know where they are, and they can profile them. They have the background information required to support any intelligence need for any operational perspective. It is essential to note that if at all they don't know, they don't have this information, how do they reach out to them? How do they get to them? How do they have the dialogue session or the amnesty or whatever? Now, going to your question, I think it is important for every listener or viewer to understand the fact that there has been dialogue, amnesty, and negotiations between crime perpetrators and the authorities in every part of the world. As a conflict resolution expert and as a community-driven development professional, I believe that those have happened in many parts of the world many years back, and it is still happening. So it is not something new. Having such a dialogue or having such an amnesty and so on and so forth, as far as it will drive the process of a peaceful coexistence and peace building and the peace process. It is also essential to note that there was a governor in Kaduna State, that was Malam Nasir El-Rufai. There was a governor in Sokoto State, that was Barrister Aminu Tambuwal. There was a governor in Katsina State, that was Aminu Bello Masari. There was a governor in Zamfara State, that was Amalam Bello Mutawalli, who is now the State Minister of Defense. There was a governor in Niger State, that was Lolo. So whichever way, the point I'm trying to make here is, there was those deceptive plan of having an amnesty or a dialogue with bandits or criminals in those north-western states and north central states, including that of where former Governor Hayabel was in Kogi State, and that of Nasarawa and Benue and Plateau. There was initiative of having such a peaceful or a dialogue sessions to address, in order to get to the root of all these killings, kidnappings, and other criminal perspective or activities that has been taking place. But I think there is something missing. There must be six outline ingredients in any situation and circumstance where you want to conduct amnesty or where you want to conduct a dialogue with criminals, especially those bandits, banditry, kidnappers, Ansaru, Iswa, Boko Haram, and the rest. And this outline, one, you must have the community that has been hurt. You must have those who have been hurting or disturbing or criminalizing or terrorizing those communities. You must have a sign-in sheet where names and phone numbers and addresses of all the participants is to be recorded. You must have an agreement, an understanding, discussing the understanding of why the objective of the meeting is conducted. And number 5, you must have a recognized, agreed agreement on what and why the dialogue session or the amnesty is built upon, or the peace process is agreed upon. And finally, which is the most important and essential, you must have an enforcement, an agency responsible for enforcing those agreements to ensure that those who are terrorizing really stop terrorizing, and if at all they return or they rebut or they disagree in practice or in whichever way, then you should have a strategy to understand and to explain who is going to take what measure and on what, that which includes the security agencies, the political agencies, the administrative component, as well as the civilian JTF or whatever you may call it, the political administration, the administrative system, the security formations. That is what combined together made the number 6 component. So if you have this, that is a wonderful, and I must commend Governor Obasani for the initiative, because of the informations we are generating, or I am generating, from the core, from the macro level of the communities of Benue and many other parts of the Kaduna State where this dialogue took place. Even though I am still studying and carefully trying to analyze the circumstance and the process, because if Obasani in Kaduna State conducted the dialogue, yes, of course, those bandits operating in Kaduna State may stop operating in Kaduna State, but they can fly. They can cross to Katsina State, they can cross to Niger State, they can cross to Kebbi State, they can cross to Sokoto State and commit the same atrocities. So which means there must be a synchronized, a unique operating system on how to manage the situation combined by all the states.
All right. Several points have been raised in this your narrative right now, Getso. But let's talk about some of those issues you itemized, all of those conditions, or maybe we should call them preconditions that you did highlight. Does Kaduna State look like it has all of these mechanisms in place, especially your item 6, where you talked about a very critical component, which is an entity or an agency that would drive the enforcement of whatever agreement has been reached between these bandits and the government of Kaduna State?
Well, my concern has been something is missing definitely why we have to take this, allow these criminals to continue to conduct their activities over time. For several reasons. One of which, if at all there is sincerity, honesty, and the management of unscrupulous elements among the security agencies, we must commend the leadership of the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, and Nigerian Navy, as well as the Defense Headquarters, for their efforts over time to provide necessary logistics and operational support, as well as the psychological, social support to ensure that they deliver their mandates. At the same time, we also must commend the other security agencies who have been partnering and working together with these security agencies. Yes, of course, they have been doing their best, but their best have never been the best. Their best have never been enough. Why? Because there are lots of unscrupulous elements within the cycles that they have not been able to fish out so that they could have managed and addressed these issues years back. Nigeria has the capacity to manage the security challenges. We have the personnel. The personnel have the capacity. We have the armament. And the most important things is what I keep repeating, that we know who are the bandits. We know who are the kidnappers. And anybody who is saying they are foreigners, Dr. Uzagiso says, you are deceiving yourself. 99.9% of them are known to us. We know them, we know where they are, we know their locations. All the security agencies, I mean all, and I said all, they all know who they are and they all know where they are. And all the traditional and religious institutions, as well as other philanthropies and other key players as stakeholders in the community building or community setup or community management, also environmental management, they all know who these guys and they all know who they are, and we know them by their parents, we know them by their grandparents, we know them by their great-grandparents. So which means in the last 100 years they are indigenous of Nigeria. So by this, if Kaduna State have been able to have this enforcement or all the items as mentioned, because what happens during Buhari administration as far as dialogue and the amnesty is concerned is just a deceit. But what is happening now, we want to understand, we are trying yet, still trying to examine what Obasani have started. But from the information we are gathering from the macro level, from the community level, from the hearts, and from the kingpin themselves, and from the operating team of the kidnappers, the voices we are generating from them, as well as from the members of the community, traditional, religious, and other philanthropies and other key players from all surrounding of Kaduna State, is that the peace process is really yet the result.
All right.
But my concern...
Yes, go ahead. Please, by all means, go ahead.
Yes, the three is the sustainability. Second, if at all any monetary, any money, if there is any financial benefit, is not sustainable. Because at the time, if you don't have, number three, if you don't have an enforcement on the agreement, on the dialogue, or what has been agreed, and if you don't have minute of the meeting, and both I challenge Kaduna State government at the same time, while commending them and commending the defense headquarters and other security agencies for their participation in the peace process. I also challenge all of them, especially the Kaduna State government, to come out boldly and provide all necessary information on how and what are the agreed action points on how to manage and deal with this amnesty and dialogue. With this, I am employing other states to join Kaduna State government to generate this information, conduct a pilot strategy, and decide on how to go about it. Yes, of course, I'm not advocate of dialogue, but I can be advocate of dialogue where it will give results. Because over the years, many of our people are being killed, are being kidnapped. And I said, and I'm repeating myself, we know who are the bandits. We know where the bandits are. And we can profile them by polling units, by herds, by villages, by political wards, by state assembly constituencies, by federal constituencies, and by senatorial constituencies. And we can build up a tree of background if we want to conduct background check. And if we really want to conduct an intelligent background tree that will help us to identify these guys and have their names, have their contact numbers, and have those who are supporting them directly and indirectly. And I know and I believe by the capacity of the Nigerian intelligence, of the Nigerian military, both Air Force and the land operators, that is the Army, the Civil Defense, the Police Authority, and all the security agencies that we have, inclusive of the DSS. Nigeria have the capacity of managing all the security challenges in Africa. I want to build the confidence and trust on to Nigerians that Nigerian security personnel, they have the capacity, they have the armament, and they can manage the security challenges in the entire African nations, African states. Not only what we have in Nigeria that can easily be managed within 7 days. But something is missing somewhere. There is something we refuse to do. Capacity is different from refusing to utilize the capacity. So we only refused to utilize the capacity as enshrined by the Constitution, as enshrined by the clauses in the Constitution that enacted, provided the enactment of provision of the Nigerian Army and its responsibility, Nigerian Police, its responsibility, Nigerian Air Force, its responsibility, the DSS, their responsibility, Civil Defense, their responsibility, and all the 29 security agencies that we have. So if at all, we can sit off and hold people accountable for the responsibilities given to them, and also conditioned promotions, demotion, sacking, dismissal, as well as queries based on the performance and non-performing strata, we wouldn't have been able to still have this issue of kidnapping, the Boko Haram, the issue of till now, unmanaged. I keep repeating, I commend the Defense Headquarters, and I believe that the Defense Headquarters and its allies and other partnering agencies, they have the capacity, they have the agility, they have the patriotic mindset to manage what we have. But simply because somewhere else, somebody is using the insecurity in northern Nigeria, especially in that of northwestern part of the country and northeastern part of the country, in strategically and systematically utilizing it as a political mechanism, as a political machinery. Some are still having the guts that if we are able to succeed, if we support Governor A, if we support local government chairman B, if we support Senator A, B, C, if we support federal government or chief of defense staff or chief of army staff A, B, C, we allow him to succeed, then how are we going to continue to siphon the resources? How are we going to stop, how are we going to enrich ourselves so that our children attain the best
can you hear me now?
In the world? And so forth. I do.
Okay, great. So let's talk about one of the issues you made allusion to a while ago, because you were saying hypothetically, this approach by the Kaduna State government under the leadership of Governor Obasani will make a difference for the better to a large extent, all right, in Kaduna State. However, you also indicated some level of curiosity by asking what happens to these criminal elements that will maybe flee to other states, whether it's Niger, it's, well, let's say Sokoto, or even other neighboring states around Kaduna. Let's talk about how there is necessity at this point, for example, for these states, particularly in the northwestern part of the country, to maybe, who knows, use this Kaduna State example as a blueprint.
Yes, absolutely. I employ, I advocate, and I encourage other neighboring states to conduct a study tour, a study visit, in order to invite the Kaduna State Security Management Team, especially the new Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs, and his team, as well as to visit the GOC, the Police Commissioner, the Commandant of the Civil Defense, and all the security agencies, and even other non-formal securities, that is NSAK, or Vigilante, or Manoa, or Hunters, which I know all of them are incorporated and involved in the process, conduct a kind of a study tour to Kaduna State and conduct a visit to Kaduna State Governor. Let's have a brief, let's have a blueprint, and let's have a copy of the minutes and the agreement reached, so that let's have a strategic information generation tools and utilize it in order to reach out to Kaduna State and generate all those informations, come back to your state, compare and contrast, and look at the peculiarities and the differences in the challenges.
All right.
Because
yes, go ahead.
Peculiarity and probably some few challenge differences on operatives or mode of operandi between the bandits in Kaduna, the bandits in Katsina, the bandits in Sokoto, the kidnappers in Niger, the kidnappers in Kogi, the kidnappers in Plateau, and the rest of it. So compare and contrast, mobilize the information, generate the information from Kaduna State, inclusive of presentations, if necessary, PowerPoint presentations, and other minutes of the meeting, and on how they conducted or how the process started yielding results. Take it to your state, look at your environment, insert it into your own cup of tea, and then dilute it, and then digest it, and then try to sip it, and see if it is possible. If it is not possible, probably you can bring other experts like me. There are some of the governors who are working probably to engage my company, that is Eagles Integrated Security.
Mr. Gesso, that's advertising you're doing. We're discussing issues around national security as it stands right now. So let's not advertise. Let's stay on the public interest angle, if you do not mind, please.
Yeah. At the same time, there are more challenges that are more dangerous than banditry and kidnapping, probably facing the northern Nigeria, not only northwestern Nigeria, north central, northwest, and northeast, which I think there is much need for all the governors to try as much as they can to reorganize themselves. I commend them for the efforts they are making. I appreciate what they are doing, but what they are doing is not enough. And I commend the Kaduna State in particular. I'm recommending Governor Obasani for the performance-based results, because he started this dialogue process not quite 37 days ago. But the result we are seeing is better than what happens 8 years during Buhari administration. We are getting the result based on the information from the micro level, from the huts where these atrocities are taking place, and from the areas where these challenges are being generated. We are having voices of the kidnappers and bandit kingpins from Kaduna State telling us that yes, we have lowered down our arms and we have embraced amnesty introduced by the Kaduna State Governor. And we also reach out to the community leaders, the village heads, the one heads, I also reach out to the community members. They are telling me that they are now moving free. There are challenges, not 100% really, but there is lots of progress being made. And I commend Olutani, and I want him to share, to have a national chat, and then share it with the Office of the National Security Advisor, and also the federal and the state agencies, the state authorities should come together and have a unique policy on how to deal with this situation. What we need is to have the peace in place, is to have an end of kidnapping, and to also have those who are still in captivity to have them released. And to also understand that I can move freely with my boots. I can go to one market, between one market and another. I can visit my relations between one state and the other, one local government and the other, without having any fear. So it's commendable effort.
All right, let's turn to the southeast now, because I mean that region, that part of the country, are seeing perhaps a little more than its fair share of insecurity as well. Now, would you say, from what you know, based on your assessment, that this kind of model we're seeing in Kaduna State can be replicated in the southeast?
Yes, absolutely. It can be replicated in all parts of Nigeria.
With the unknown gunmen?
This and south. Because one, you must conduct what we call root cause analysis. And this, it is with root cause analysis that you will understand what are really the basis, what are the arguments from those who are committing the crimes, what are their grievances, understand the grievances, and then put it on a thread, and then see what you can be able to fix and what they can be able to understand and acknowledge and embrace. Peace process achieved in any part of the world by copying from one book or one strategy to another. So it is possible. We need to have a feasibility study, and all parts of Nigeria, I employ and I advocate for Nigerian government, the Office of the National Security Advisor, to continue to do whatever they could. If it means copying from Kaduna State government, there is nothing wrong. Let's give it a try. What we need is to have a peaceful coexistence and to have a kind of to secure life and property from being destroyed and being killed.
All right, recently, on the final note now, Senator Adams Oshiomhole said illegal mining is one of the factors driving banditry, particularly across the northwestern belt of the country. And then he also alleged that this phenomenon has behind it retired generals. Now, if what the Senator Adams Oshiomhole were to be worth anything, what's the implication of that for the fight against banditry, insurgency, and all forms of criminality in the north?
Well, first of all, I think it was not Adams Oshiomhole first been making such allegations. There has been these allegations many times. One of the governors in the last regime of Buhari administration had made this allegation against one of the generals or some of the generals. And we have not had any of these serving or retired generals that has been alleged, even though I don't see names. And I wonder why Adams Oshiomhole and all those who are alleging cannot mention names. So, but I think they have given our intelligence and our security operatives and the leadership of the Nigerian government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration a simple guide to checkmate, to browse, to kind of scan, to understand who are really these retired generals. And they are not above the law. They are not above Nigerian constitutions. And they are Nigerians. They can be brought to book and face the wrath of the law. That is one. On the other hand, we need to look at the background of Adams Oshiomhole. This was the national chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress. This was the governor of Edo State for 8 years. This was somebody whose background had been checked over time and had been found to be highly reputable and responsible to some extent. I'm not saying that he is 100% pure, but the concern I have, as a member of the Senate, as a sitting member of the Senate, as a senator, Federal Republic of Nigeria, I believe that Senator Adams Oshomole will not just come out and make this allegation or make this statement just for the sake of making. He must have had evidence. He must have had conducted background check. He must have had a certain discussions at high levels. He must have had some interactions with some of our intelligence agencies and some of our intelligence personnel, probably even the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence. So definitely he must have an evidence to back his arguments. But my concern is how serious has the Nigerian intelligence took this statement made by Adams Oshomole, and how are we utilizing it in pursuing the process of examining the truth or otherwise of such statements and such allegations that have been made by many Nigerians over time. It has been made by locals. It has been made by a group of elites. It has been made by many of the media outlets. It has been made by many of the, probably the bandits that have been apprehended. It has been made probably in many intelligence reports being presented to our political and administrative leaders. But we have not had any feedback, any outcome being released by either the security agencies, the political as well as administrative bloc of Nigeria's management, or from either the presidency or the office of the secretary to the government of the federation or any other source in finding a kind of strategic action plan, or how has it been utilized? How has this intelligence? Because it is open intelligence. It's not even an undercover intelligence. It's not a closed intelligence. It is an open intelligence. If somebody like Adams Oshomole will make these statements, going by the background I have discussed of who is Senator Adams Oshomole, I think we should take it very serious and more serious. And we should be very serious about this issue. And there are a lot of allegations around this mining issue. But how have we been doing? What have we been doing in managing? I know many of the mining sites are still operating. Even those that has been called illegal mining sites, they are still ongoing. So what have we been doing, and how do we pursue the process? Utilizing and examining the statement.
Hopefully, Mr. Getso, as a country, as a government, and as a people, we are able to find answers to all of these very important questions that you're asking on the program this morning. In the meantime, we say we're grateful for the insights, very valuable ones, I should say, that you have shared with us on Global Morning today.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That's what we'll leave it with this discussion. Thank you everyone so far on the program. Just, let's call it the first lap of the program today. We're taking a quick break, everyone. Up next, we'll be looking at the need for critical reforms in our electoral process in Nigeria towards strengthening democratic institutions. All of that and so more coming after this break. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Nigeria's 25 years of a broken democracy, the Independent National Electoral Commission and the National Assembly has been making several reforms on electoral laws. Some, of course, recently have pushed for more calls for the electoral reforms, which has continued to be top priorities and conversation ahead of 2027 general elections. Again, we are on the program this morning to x-ray those concerns. I'm being joined by a legal practitioner and the public commentator, Joseph Abo. Is live here on the show to add voice to this conversation. Good morning, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, a lot. INEC National Assembly have been pushing for electoral reforms. Many have continued to criticize. Look at the 2022 Electoral Act. They didn't meet the public expectations.
Well, sincerely, the 2022 Electoral Act, I would say, and all that the import in it, I would say that, and of course, what happened during 2023 general elections, one cannot say confidently that the 2022 Electoral Act actually met the expectations of the people. But basically, it was thought that so many innovations were being brought in through that particular Electoral Act that would have eased, the process, give a lot of ease in terms of the electoral process in Nigeria, but that happened not to be. It was eventually discovered that there were a lot of lacuna in that particular Electoral Act, which again became like a stampede to the Nigerians' expectations. So, to answer your question, I will not say, in fact, that particular Electoral Act did not meet the expectations of Nigeria. There's still much that should be done on the Electoral Act in Nigeria. There's so much that is needed to be done.
I mean, when you look at electoral manipulations, impunity, and all of those concerns, many were expecting that we'll have a legal framework from the 2022 Electoral Act to put to rest all of those issues. Let's talk about technology that was deployed, BVAS. BVAS was deployed to also ease aware of transparency and also bridge the gap of manipulations in the process. Because prior to this time, what we had was people just using the ballot papers to manipulate figures at the end. But we look at the use of BVAS. We've still not gotten it right. Some are really having concern about that, because if you look at how much have been spent to deploy BVAS on our elections, we were expected that we would have been more better than where we were.
Exactly. You see, you're talking about much that was spent, and nothing less than 450 billion naira was expended, because it was thought that technology was going to be applied in that, in the Nigerian electoral processes for beginning from 2023. But that again did not happen. In fact, it was a humongous failure. It was a sham of a process, sincerely speaking, because BVAS, we thought, they are going to electoral results were going to be transmitted directly, electronically from the polling units, and that election manipulations which have become the norm in our electoral process over time. So in past successive elections, it was anticipated that the use of BVAS and IREV and all the other technological technologies that were being imported purportedly by that Electoral Act, it was thought that by Nigerians, by the vast majority of Nigerians, that that would have cured the problem of the rascality, manipulations that we have during our elections. But unfortunately, like we said earlier on, there were lacunas in the electoral law. At the end of the day, in fact, it became like the BVAS and the technology that was employed, it was absolutely nothing, amounted to, added nothing to the electoral process. In fact, people were more disappointed. And you will discover more people, the younger folks, the older folks of Nigerians, they came out during the last general elections because, again, over time, the Nigerian populace had lost confidence in the electoral process, and there was this general apathy. People were no longer, the people had this mindset that their votes were not counting, so they didn't want to waste their times to go and do what will not count. But with the advent of that 2022 Electoral Act, the fears of people were like being allayed, and so many people came out to participate in that election. But unfortunately, the ruling class who had always manipulated the process, they still had their way at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Let's look at issues of electronically transmission of results, because I feel that was also another challenge we had, even after the use of beavers. What is the definition of transmitting result? Because those who argue that electronically transmitting result means whatever comes in, it's transmitted directly to the IREV and the portals, and to the IREV, where everybody can have access to monitor all of those things. It was a major concern. INEC said that is not a law, it's just a guideline, because what we understand about the fact that yes, we had 2022 Electoral Act, we also have guideline from INEC that they use in conducting elections. So do you feel that because it has not been constitutionalized, so we cannot really say, because it looks that transmission of result is still a problem?
You see, if you look at the provisions of section 65 subsection 1 of the 2022 Electoral Act, and then which actually provide for this aspect of the election, and then combining with section 90 of the INEC guidelines, you discover that the law was not explicit. It did not say the modality, the medium, the procedure by which these results were to be transmitted. And at the end of the day, if you combine it with judicial decisions were made, you discover that what it amounted to is that whatever comes into IREV or whatever is transmitted electronically, they were just like for purposes of, you were just watching cartoons. Let me just say that it had no impact on the election. It went no way to determine what was the outcome or what was the result of the elections. So, and like we said, these are areas that we as a people must look at sincerely, because we must look at how there must be a legal framework. There must be adjustment, amendment, alteration, if so to say, to this act, so that it can still come up and this aspect that can be regulated.
When you look at INEC vessel with the power of declaration of result, some said, why rush to declare result when you've not sorted out some observations that have been made, some concerns that have been raised? But we always have a situation where elections, there will be declaration of results, there will be proceedings for inauguration, and then afterwards, we are now heading to court. Are you worried about that process?
It gives a lot of reasons for one to be worried, sincerely, because you see, we have to look at this from the background, from the root of it. One, what lies at the root of our election generally is bad faith. There's no sincerity or purpose. Otherwise, the whole most part, from the part of the political parties, INEC, and generally, because look at the elections that were conducted. You talked about INEC rushing. Ordinarily, the 2022 Electoral Act gave them some leverage, where they can overlook even where there are issues. They could review sincerely where there's sincerity or purpose. They would have taken advantage of such provisions and try to see that the proper thing is done, at least in certain instances, especially instances where you have glaring, inconsistencies. There are certain contradictions that they could have resolved ordinarily, and it would have been so clear to everybody that this body is acting in good faith. It would have been so clear to everybody that there was sincerity of purpose, and there was something we're aiming at to achieve a very credible election at the end of the day. But they rather rushed to announce election results, even where the results or the processes were incorrect, even where they were incomplete. So you see, that gives a lot of reasons for one to worry. And now they do that under guise that the law did not provide the detailed procedures on how to review. But you see, at least there should have been some attempt. There should be some effort, and let it be manifestly seen that that effort is there, particularly on the part of INEC.
We've seen many suggestions recently with the recent calls for electoral reforms ahead of the 2027. What do you feel should be done to strengthen our democracy? Because when you look at the expectations of Nigerians, 2023 elections did not really meet up to the standard and expectation that a lot of persons have said, if we allow this to continue towards 2027, we may have low turnout, for the elections. the concern to strengthen our institution, to strengthen our electoral process. Do we need more laws? Because we may have a concern about, look at the laws we have. Has it been duly followed? Has it been fully implemented? Is borrowing your words, integrity for purpose, and all of those concerns. What do you feel should be done? Is it about electoral? Is it about more laws? Is it about reforming what we have for the 2022 electoral act? How do we get these things right? Clearly,
you see, we must not get tired of making effort to see that the process works. Because again, a lot of times Nigerians seem to resign to fate. But where we are, we cannot resign to fate. We cannot put our hands on the plow and look back. You know, so I would really, my opinion, I belong to the school of thought. I believe that we must again come around the table and see how we must dig deep into the electoral laws. We are not where we are at the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1999. Definitely some changes, and so some positive additions have been made. But again, we must really look at it, thinking towards 2027. They are like the loopholes we have noticed in our electoral laws. We must look at them like the areas of maybe making the people's votes to count, making their voices to count. Vox populi, vox dei. That is, say the voice of the people is the voice of God. You know the reason a lot of times there's no synergy between the Nigerian, the electorate, the populace, the citizens, and the ruling class and the people that are in leadership in Nigeria. The reason is just because a lot of times they feel the people who are in the positions of authority, who are occupying these offices, are not people that are elected by them. You can equate it to giving somebody a wife he never wanted to marry. Forcing, do you understand? It's just like forcing marriage. And a lot of times between the synergy and the chemistry between Nigerians and the ruling class is just like that of they are most of the times like strange bedfellows. So, but if we want to get over these contradictions, we must make deliberate efforts, such like looking into the laws, the electoral laws, and then beefing it up, working on it to see that what are the expectations of the Nigerian people are met, and that we must need to do that and do it timeously before we get into the present of times of the 2027 elections. Because again, there must be this effort to revive the interests of the people. There must be this deliberate effort made towards reviving the interests of the people, made towards carrying the people along deliberately. It must be made to sustain this democracy sincerely.
All right, there are those that are emphasizing the need to unbundle INEC, arguing that the Commission's current responsibilities are overwhelming and it hinders effectiveness. Look at the role INEC plays. Some said gets a body to supervise what INEC are doing. INEC are operating in isolation. Yes, the president has the power to make some appointment into the commission as well, even from the chairman and all of those things. But it looks like it's worrisome. It's not truly independent. Their responsibilities are overwhelming. They cannot carry out all of the roles alone. Because when you look at what political parties are doing, it looks like the political parties are distancing themselves from, INEC. It's only when election time reaches, that's when you don't have more reports. So, but in all the extent of the provisions of INEC, there are also to, create sensitizations, engage with whatever is happening within the political parties. Do you feel that they are overwhelmed with responsibilities?
Personally, I don't think that the problem is that of being overwhelmed with responsibilities. We saw what happened in the United States. It was a seamless election. I like always maintain in my arguments and submissions that the problem we have is a system problem. We basically have a system problem, and then we are yet to our norms, our national core values. We are yet to define them. We are yet to look into them. If you saw, for example, what happened in the US up to the point of the swearing of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, you see that everybody's eye and all the things went towards the United States, the national, their nationhood and the ideologies that have always governed and kept the fabrics of that nation from the outset. So I don't think that INEC is overburdened, or whether we need to dissect them. I think that we have to look at the philosophy of election. We have to look at our ideologies as a people. Where there are contradictions that must be resolved. You understand? And those contradictions are why we don't have good results a lot of times. We have cultural contradictions, we have religious contradictions, we have so many kind of contradictions that should not even be issues at the level that the world has gone. So we have to look at those things, and then once the INEC, those things are resolved, now you begin to have institutions that work. You understand? We need to have, imagine having an INEC chairman, an INEC and an institution, or having a system that is deliberately minded to deliver to Nigeria because they believe in the Nigerian nation. Do you understand? They can go out of their way to do whatever that is proper to be done so that we can have the results we should have. But that is what it's like basically here. So I think that when in law there's what we call inside trading, when you have a president being the one that determines who is in INEC and what happened. Again, it's a problem. It's a problem. So we should make effort to develop our system where we get to a place where there are institutions that work, and these institutions are piloted. They work on their own, irrespective of who is there. Do you understand? In other places, other climes were copying from, like the United States, there's extent to which the president can go, because the presidency itself is an institution. The electoral process and the structures that sustain it, they operate as a system. Those systems have been there. You can't alter them. You can't alter them for parochial interest. You cannot just go around them and alter them for parochial systems. We were talking the other day, we were talking about even separation of power. So we should look at systems and make sure that the proper systems are put in place. And I tell you that these things will work.
Do we link the issues of the internal democracy crisis within the political parties to be increasing these current political tensions we are having? Because some said INEC are not doing their work enough, to look at deepening internal democracy within political parties, because we cannot solve the problem of political parties. You cannot put a stop to the issues we're having on the election, even with the judiciary. People want to court after primaries of the political parties and all of those concerns.
The judiciary, for example, the judiciary cannot act outside of what the law is. If you look at the Electoral Act that we have presently, the timeline that is given for remedy, for me, I think it's too restrictive. Now you have an election where the thousands of polling units, elections happen, for example, a presidential election, and then somebody goes to court, and then he has to get his evidence and tender them before the law court. Now the court cannot make decisions where you are not presented evidence, credible evidence to prove your case. Every case is not the duty of the judge to prove your case, or you have to prove your case, and it has to be backed by verified evidence, by verifiable facts and figures. Now where the law makes it impossible for you to be able to present your evidence, then you know that going to court after elections a lot of times is just a waste of time. It's just an academic exercise.
We've seen courts declare people winners.
Yes, those
at the expense of the people's expectations.
Such have happened in isolated cases. But where look at the presidential elections in Nigeria, there's not been a time that the courts have given any decision overturning any decisions, like the last one. And partly it's because you cannot even prove your case in court. The timeline to collate these results, they are very, very, restrictive. Now you cannot even compel INEC, who is the custodian of beavers. Now you are talking about, okay, how do you prove that the election irregularities and manipulations, even under the 2022 Electoral Act? Now where you have beavers, you have IREV and all that. Now you must be able to bring, apart from the Form EC8A, and you must also present the beaver machines. You must bring the evidence, say that, okay, look at where manipulation are, and then a lot of times you cannot even get INEC to bring them before the lock-up within timeline, and then the courts are time bound as far as making their decisions, finishing with electoral petitions before swearing in. The time, so these are areas that we have to look at it. We have to look at and then do what is simple. It happened in Ghana recently. The election in Ghana, it was a seamless election. It was somebody who the party in power, the incumbency did not even work, because they have already gotten a system that works. And you see, where the system works, nobody will be left in doubt as to who is winning the elections. You understand? But ours is clustered with a lot of shrouded in mysteries, and there's nothing. It's not rocket science. Conducting elections, you have this thing. Even when you talk about electronic transmission of election results, these are not very difficult things. We are, banks have operated the BVS systems and other things, and we have seen how it has worked effectively. This is the same modality. Do you understand? So I think it still goes back to where we are talking of sincerity of purpose. We have to be deliberate. The Nigerian people have to be educated. They have to know that, look, except we want to jeopardize or put our future and those of our generations in jeopardy, we must get these things right. We must get them right.
INEC and those supporting the side of INEC will argue that political parties are the reason for electoral flaws in this country. They have also blamed political parties to be the one sponsoring issues of vote buying, distortions, compromises of even the INEC officials, the different polling units and all of those things. So they've entirely said political parties are not getting it right. And that those have to ask them the same questions. Who are those regulators to get them to work things, to put things right? Would you also blame political parties for the current Yes, INEC has their own fair share of blame. The judiciary also have their own fair share of blame. Talk about political parties. Do they also have a big role in resolving this electoral?
They have a chunk of rules, and then of course where there's roles and responsibility, then of course you know that you can either vindicated or you are vilified. So but the political parties in Nigeria, they are in fact they are not doing what they ought to be doing. The political parties, do they have ideologies? No, here they talk about, and I must be very frank, and maybe sometimes on facts, we must also be brutal with facts. You understand? It's all about the baileys. What about individuals get? The system of politics in Nigeria is not based on ideologies. You understand? It's not based on ideologies. Now that's why you see people cross-carpeting. Somebody is voted as APC, immediately he goes there, has not even delivered. There are no deliverables. They have not done anything, and it's the camping. That's why I have the camping all over, left, right, and center. You understand? What the political parties are supposed to be doing, they are not engaged with what they are supposed to be doing. They are not engaged with what they are supposed to be doing. Each time you have what you see, most of the time you see conflict of leadership, intra-political conflict within the leadership of the party, which is not the basic things. The political party is supposed to be, the duty of educating the electorate, mobilizing the electorate towards achieving a credible election is that of the political party, basically. Now, when last have you seen that happen in Nigeria? When have you seen them organize, mass mobilizations for purposes of educating the Nigerian people? They don't have a lot of times. They don't have plans. They don't have manifestos, because political parties are supposed to have manifestos. And the reason why you come for power is because you have looked at the system and you have something to offer. That what you have to offer is itemized, is contained in your manifesto, and you sell it out as it's just like the marketing. You go out, you sell it out to the people, you get them to buy your to buy what you are offering, and then you go for power. And then of course once you get power, you come to implement. You can see what Donald Trump is doing. He's a Republican. Not everybody knows he's a Republican, and it's all about America. It's all about the American nation. Do you understand? It's all about governance in accordance with the set values, the core values, the foundational principles of the founding fathers of the United States. So, and of course, the party that everybody knows that the Republicans are conservative. They are most talk or stick to the most of times to those values. The Democrats are liberal. You understand? And they have been like that from time immemorial. But we're coming to Nigeria, what we have, I don't know whether they are political parties, really speaking. A lot of times they don't do what, and they are not regulated. They are, of course, also the part where INEC is supposed to regulate and oversee and look into what the political parties are doing to ensure that they dispense what they get. They play their roles as they ought to play. But you see, all these things are not being done. So now, I always say, there must be deliberate effort. Everybody is responsible one way or the other. You and I, we are responsible. The media, which is the fifth
realm of the estate.
You understand? They must play their role appropriately. Of course, I must commend the fifth estate of the realm, however they are described, because so far so good. Where others have abdicated, for example, where the political parties are not doing what they ought to be doing, all Nigerians rely on what they get, the education they get from from the fourth estate of the realm.
So ahead of 2027, what kind of conversation should we begin to have? Getting the confidence of Nigerians back, because we've seen the deficit of trust already exhibited by many Nigerians. Because we must begin to get Nigerians involved. Governance and democracy has to do with the people. The people must be involved. Institutions. What is your final call in respect to as we move ahead of the 2027?
See, my call will be that everybody must now, as a matter of urgency, we must begin to work towards getting to restore the people's confidence and trust in the electoral process. That duty is the duty of, it behoves on us, as a lawyer, for example, the Nigerian Bar Association, the non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, must be able to do now. The legislators must now wake up to do what they ought to be doing. You understand? They must, like areas where there are lacunas, yes, they must make laws now to define certain things that we can give excuse and say it was the first time we're trying certain things in our electoral, during elections. But now we have ample time, ample opportunity to put the proper things in place. Every procedure must be regulated by law, otherwise there will be anarchy. You understand? So those are in charge of making laws must make the appropriate laws. You understand? Those that must, act as motivators, as catalysts, that must, sponsor the idea, whether in the National Assembly, the processes must be engaged in right now, so that while before it gets to the dawn of 2027, we should have put the structure in place, and then the Nigerian people must now have the assurance again that this thing can work.
On conflicting court orders, what will be your take? Because sometimes it's also undermining a process. I understand you're a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, sincerely, I think he has been a sincere, he has given a lot of worries. Recently, a committee has been inaugurated, headed by the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onnoghen, to look into this problem of having conflicting court orders. Because the orders of court, they are courts that are of coordinate jurisdictions, and the principle of stare decisis, where you have once there are judicial precedents, once decisions have been made by upper court, higher court, such decisions should bind ordinarily the lower court. But we have seen that they flaunted. We've seen that there's some kind of deviation from that procedure. So it's an area that has been looked into, and I believe in the capabilities of that committee. I believe in His Lordship Honorable Justice Walter Onnoghen retired. I believe in what they are able to come up with. I believe they are going to come up with provide a cure to that, because we cannot have, that will be devil democracy, where the courts are not doing what they should do. Justice, they are not dispensing justice judiciously and judicially. Then, of course, everything falls, everything will collapse. I mean, the system can collapse like a pack of cards. That can bring us to can lead us to a national crisis of horrendous proportion. I mean, that's even the more dangerous for the courts not doing what they ought to be doing. It's even more dangerous compared to what politicians do at the illegal criminalities and manipulations and all the things they do at the polling units, at the polling booths. If the courts cannot do what they ought to do, then of course everything will cave in definitely one day. But we pray we don't get to that extent.
There's a need to strengthen that institution as well.
There's a need to strengthen the court, and then the judiciary must wake up. We are looking forward to the new CJN. This, we hope that she would, and of course the NDA and all that are part of the judicial system in Nigeria. Our jurisprudence must not be a sham jurisprudence. You understand? Our courts must not be what they are not. They must not be kangaroo courts. They must be courts of justice.
We should still know them as the last hope of the common man.
They must remain as the last hope of the common man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Jason Obo is a legal practitioner and the public affairs committee. Thanks so much for joining us on the morning show and giving us insights on electoral reforms. Thank you so much. Everyone, that's when we wrap it up on the morning show today. A lot of concern about elections. INEC, which should become a leaner, more effective body, focusing solely on organizing free and fair, credible elections. A lot of reforms that have been proposed towards INEC, which is to embrace that they must have a system that works for all Nigerians, even as we begin to count our days ahead of the 2027 election. A lot of expectations. Everyone should do their role. The judiciary should do their role. The lawmakers should also do their role. And of course, the executive should play their role to enhance, and the Nigerian people as well to participate effectively, to continue to have confidence in our institutions that can only build this nation for us all. This is when we wrap it up today on the Global Morning. We'll continue the program again with Talk Sports, as Ramsey will be here to take us on Top Sports, and of course Samuel Odio will also be here to bring some updates on the world of business and our future bulletins for today. And a lot of programming is lined up to continue to bring you this to news and items and programming of the day. My name is Edikan Michael. I was here with but thanks so much for joining us today. See you again.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave,